The first thing I always when I see such personal stories on the screen,
Yeah.
I would always think, how is it? It's like to say, "Dear world, my name is Alex, and that's my story." I mean, it is pretty courageous to just present such a personal story in such a way.
Yeah, how is that? Yeah, well, I mean, it was also a journey in which I did not immediately decide to be so present in the film.
Okay.
My intention was to tell this story to you, but also to myself, and kind of affirm myself or something, or find a key to some emotions that were locked inside, I think. But in the surface level, I was making a film. I wanted to make a film about my sister
Ah.
and her visit to Tunisia. So you kind of see in the film that the story evolves from being about more or less I mean, the history part of me and my father was kind of like, we constructed that from old archival stuff and my phone videos, but then it was about Yasmin going to Tunisia, and I wanted to make a film where I would kind of reflect with her on her visit and how she deals with this revolution in her life, so to speak, and then talk about my own experience in a kind of like a dialogue. But soon enough, me, but also the people who got involved in the project, producing, and I had some advising people like who were helping me, and I was always talking about that with them about this project. They told me like, no man, you have to get butt naked. You have to show yourself because this is about you. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. Okay. So it was a process. So it's not like you decide one day I'm gonna tell everything and show everything. No, it was kind of I had to be helped a little bit. And then of course you have the editing, in which I ended up with more than 100 hours of material, maybe 120 hours or something. And there's this problem of distance towards your own story. And still, I'm seeing the film now. I sat in today, and I'm still like, oh, okay. So still, I see new things or new ways of thinking about the story and the characters and the themes that are in the film. And so it's kind of a co-creative process in which I was the one, of course, who had the intention and the clear idea about certain things, but I did not know how far to go with that.
One of the things, or actually a lot of things I like about the film, but especially is like with these all emotional up and downs, you manage to be as less judgmental as possible, but not only that. There's no victim and perpetrator. There's the context. The context of in which the story evolves, even such subtle things like the class issue in the story. You have managed that very, very sensitively. I mean, is that something you were aware of? Is that something you wanted to do?
Yes, I think my intention was always to make a film that would be kind of like a discovery. It would be more a 360 view of the background of my family history, of my own origins, without putting a blame somewhere. I really tried to understand people, and I think that was my journey, to understand why this happened like it happened. This whole my history and the family history, and I think it's just the way. Yeah, sounds a little bit maybe, I don't know, but it's the way I am. It's the way I look at things. I'm always in the middle, I'm always, but on the one hand, but on the other hand, so why, I never take this very strong position about anything, actually. I'm always curious about the other side. Maybe because I'm from two cultures, I don't know, but it's kind of this way I look at things, and maybe it's a weakness as well, because obviously I'm at some point refusing to like ground in myself and say, okay, this is your position, here is your emotion, this is what has been done to you, or this is what has been taken away from you. You have to feel it, because that's the whole point of life. You have to feel, you know. But that's in the end, at some point, you kind of have this moment a little bit, and I think that for me was the ultimate purpose, to kind of really a little bit connect with myself.
Yeah, like we see, I think you managed that very well. Questions before I go on with my curiosity over there?
I don't need it, I can shout.
Okay.
Maybe it's better with the micro.
Okay. Just a very quick question. Are you still in touch with Yasmin? And what are the family bonds today, the bonds?
So yeah, I'm still in touch with her. I mean, actually, in the film, it kind of looks like I'm meeting her on camera for the first time. But that wasn't the case. I actually met her in 2010, and then for 2 years, I had this conversation with her through Facebook. And at some point, I got this idea to make this film, and then I asked her if she would want to join me. So I had already 2 years of contact, and we had a lot of similarities in our stories. So then in 2012, we went to Tunisia together, and since then we have been friends. I mean, we call each other bro and sis on the app. I mean, that's kind of the evolvement of our relationship. I mean, she was with me in Amsterdam just last month, or actually beginning of February. And I mean, sometimes we don't really speak or talk for a couple of months, or like we only send some messages. And sometimes I'm in Switzerland and I'll visit her. So it's kind of up and down, but there is a line of contact. The same as with me and my family in Tunisia, of course. But Jasmine doesn't speak with her father. There's a reason. Her mother died in 2015. Quite suddenly, and that kind of, you know, took away the possibility to resolve some issues with her mother as well. But also, it kind of exploded her, you know, her guilt complex or her loyalty feelings towards her mother. And the only way to project them were her father. I mean, she actually admits this herself. And he was doing some stupid stuff in the meantime, like pushing her or being like very non-subtle about her relationship with our production assistant in Tunisia, the guy you actually see in the end. For that relationship is over now, but I mean, he was not nice about that because he knows Tunisian guys and they're all the same. so yeah, there's this like interesting, you know, there must be a saying for it in German as well, I guess, but. Yeah, so I mean, she has no contact. Maybe one day she will be going back there and meet him again. But at this point, she's just focusing on her work, and she knows him. She knows the situation. I mean, for her, the film was interesting to see. Of course, she was anxious about it, and she didn't really like it to be involved, but she did it nevertheless, and she did it for me, I guess. I think everybody did it for me, and. Yeah, I kind of, you know, wove a web, and they were all in it. Yeah. So that was, sorry, that was a long answer.
Sorry, I did catch a cold, so my voice is not clear.
No problem.
Now, first of all, this is probably the best anthropological type of film I seen in the last decade. I'm serious.
Thank you. Wow.
I'm a social scientist, so please just take apart from that. Now, the second one is another comment that since I had been living in 2 different continents more than 40% of my life, I can relate from a very different perspective to your film. So I used to live in East Asia, and I also used to live in Canada, North America, and in the US. And 2/3 of my family right now, American. okay? I'm Hungarian, so that's making it very simple. The third one is also a short comment that, as we all know, probably including you, living in two different worlds at the same time, always a mirror to ourselves and to our value system. I experienced it, so that's what I love so much this film.
Great.
Now I have a question,
Okay.
nevertheless, and that is that everybody is now in peace after this film. I mean, including your family, both sides. Everybody is satisfied.
Satisfied. Well, actually, my father saw the film, and my mother did see the film, and my sister saw the film. So there was quite a lot of people. I mean, Regina, who saw the film, and actually they liked it. So they were not really hurt by the film. Maybe my father knew to hide it, but he was saying that it was a true story, and he liked the way that the film was telling a history of a Tunisian or Tunisian European family. The only ones that didn't see the film were the uncles in Soes. They didn't see it yet. So my father told me they didn't want to see it, but I kind of figured that maybe he doesn't want them to see it. So and my aunts and my uncles in Soes. So they're still but they are kind of like a little bit indifferent about the whole thing. They kind of almost all already forgot about it, I guess. And you know, I have no real conflict or something with them, or I never had a conflict with them. They never asked me for money or something. It was always between me and my father. And I think that kind of situation was, as it was, very ambivalent. I mean, you see the film, it's kind of like, yeah, of course he's trying to, you know, massage me literally to be a caregiver or support him. At the same time, I'm aware of that. But also I feel something else, and this ambivalence is always there. I mean, it's also the essential difference between two worlds. I mean, we live in a very rich in their eyes, but yeah, we are, you know, and they don't have it, and it's very easy to judge about that or to make problems about that when you're in this world and you can go there and then you go back home and you go back to your party, but they just have to survive, really, you know. So this kind of feeling that I feel there, and the way they're always welcoming me, and he's always trying his best. I mean, yeah, of course he's trying. I mean, he's the guy he is. You can see that, but at the same time, yeah, you know, at some point you kind of step over that.
Okay, first of all, I also wanted to say that I have a lot of respect for the honesty of your story, but then also for me the lack of judgment actually was one of the weak points. Maybe that is my personal problem also, but I'm very certain it's not because of belonging to two cultures. And also, like, during the film I felt that there was a lot of judgment. Maybe I'm wrong and this is interpretation, but in many moments I felt you had a really subtle way of making a lot of bitter and also distant comments about, or the things you didn't say about everything, and also about the hypocrisy and the self-righteousness that existed, and you named it often, sometimes by not saying it but just showing something, but then you finally didn't decide to say it out loud, and I wonder if it was because you still wanted to go there and you still wanted to do the film and being able to still go there, or why in the end you often, even though it was really visible, you decided not to say it then.
You mean the hypocrisy of my Tunisian family, you mean? Or the way their BEZNESS scheme works, or what?
It sounded more personal than I wanted it to sound now. I mean the hypocrisy maybe of their circumstances that existed, and also the lack of self-criticism that your father displayed in the film.
Okay, so like that, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like, okay, make the judgment and really say it like it is. I mean, as I'm trying to explain in the answer before, for me the thing I wanted to present and the thing I experienced throughout those years that I made the film is a very big feeling of ambivalence. I mean, at one hand I understand it, at the other hand I criticize it. So I guess the film kind of puts you on the two legs all the time. It's kind of like you're, maybe it's this, but maybe it's that, but maybe it's this, and maybe I feel that. And I am in that position, and you as a viewer, I think, experience the same kind of uneasy ambivalence. Yeah, maybe I'm, you know, the lack of, you know, verbalization of judgment is also maybe a sense of detachment you can feel throughout the film. I am there, but I'm just fucking around sometimes a little bit, yeah? And that's the reality. That's how I felt. And at the same time, I feel I'm trying to look for that connection. So I'm trying to see, like, how can we make this work? And I feel that I feel good when I'm there. You know, there's this other kind of sense of time and all these interesting, this different way of looking at myself as a European, and so it's kind of like trying to make it work, and then at the same time, if you don't have this 25 years of history together, it's really hard to really be connected. And then this detachment, it shines through. I agree with you. I see it today now, the film, and I notice it. Like, you're kind of like detached. You're kind of like you're making fun and or like making these little jokes and stuff. But maybe in the end, this whole project boils down to this confrontation with my mother, and the whole thing about my father. It's painful to not have had a father, but I mean, that has happened. I mean, everybody has their own, have to deal with that. So maybe there was for me the emotional judgment or the emotional pain point. And that was maybe the reason I didn't really, I couldn't really judge my father like that. I could not do it. I understand him too much. But at the same time, yeah, you're right. I'm sometimes, you know, and now I'm repeating myself. So yeah, it's an interesting thought. Thank you. Yeah. Interesting question.
Sorry. Actually, I would like to thank you very much for that movie. I actually found a lot of parallels to my own story, and I've met my birth family for the first time in September 2015, and I found a lot of parallels, especially this, you know, I always describe it like a wall when you try to understand cultural differences, but you still don't feel them. Like this, everyone tells you that blood is thicker than water and you just don't believe it, but you want to believe it, and you kind of see that everyone else around you believes it, but you're the only one who doesn't. And yeah, I guess I also feel very similar to your way of how you approach this and how you don't find a solution and how you don't want to judge, but you still do. And it was actually a relief to see that there's no happy ending to the movie, because, yeah, it takes a bit the pressure away of having to find an answer or something. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everyone, for this wonderful discussion. Unfortunately, we have to leave for the next film, but I'm sure that Alex would answer a question of two or a small discussion in outside if there is still demand. Please do not forget to, if you like the film, or even if you don't like it, I doubt it, just to fill the card for the audience favorite. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you very much. Thanks.